Good morning. I'm Andrea with Happy Cloud Creations, and I'm jumping on today because it is week 6 of the Joyful Meadows Quilt Along. If you haven't joined in, we are making our last block this week, but it's not too late to save on the pattern. The pattern will be 10% off through March 2nd. So if you haven't gotten the pattern and you're seeing all these beautiful quilt tops being posted and quilt blocks being posted and you're like, oh my goodness, I missed out on this quilt along, it's not too late to get the pattern on sale. So make sure I'm live. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see comments this time. I should probably get my phone ready just in case, because I know the last few times I haven't been able to see comments and I am not sure why. So if you jump on here, say hi so I can see if I can see comments on my computer or not. I'm loving seeing everyone's blocks in the group. I'm glad people are actually posting their photos. And also I'm loving seeing everybody's kind, happy comments on people's photos. That just makes it a lot, funner and happy when people, celebrate each other's blocks. Um, my kids are still in their jammies. They're on midwinter break this week, so they get all week off. I know some states, some districts. Come here. Some districts only get Monday, Tuesday off, but we get the whole week off, which is nice now that we're learning from home. Okay, so yeah, I can't see comments on my computer. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for commenting so I can see. So this week is I was hoping to get so much sewing done, but I really haven't. I just prepped this block for today and I have a stack that I would like to cut for my new pattern, and I have this top that I wanted to quilt. So maybe tomorrow, maybe I'll be motivated tomorrow to do it. Hello, Melanie. Hello, Kathy. Really loving this quilt pattern. Yay, I'm so glad you love it. I'm loving how everybody's is turning out. When I envisioned a quilt, I just didn't envision it in my colors. And so then when I see everybody else make it, it's like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. I didn't even think about it in those color combos. It's just really awesome. Hello, Marilua? Oh, I can never remember how to pronounce your name. I'm glad you could join me. So, if anybody has questions about this block, please speak up and let me know. Oh, good morning, Dory. Yeah, I'm loving seeing all your guys' quilt tops. It is awesome to see you guys post those. Not as many people post theirs over on Instagram, which is fine because I think it's easier to just view them over in the group just because they're all in one place, All right, so what page are we on today? Block 3, and this week we only have to make one block, which is really awesome. So since last week's blocks did take a little bit longer, this week you can catch up and finish those blocks and be ready to go. So block 3 starts on page 13 of the pattern. So if you'll want to look to see what size pieces you are using for your quilt. And this step is really easy. It's just basically make sure to follow the pictures. You're going to sew one of your half square triangles to a square and then one of your half square triangles to a rectangle. But take note of the different angles that your half square triangles are going to be. And you're going to make basically 4 of version A and 4 of version B. And then we're going to take one square, depending on what size you're making. I'm making the baby. I have loved doing this quilt. I've learned so much over the past few weeks. That's so awesome, Marilua. It's cool to see everybody's patterns, but then it's also cool to see when people have learned things, which makes me happy because I know I've been quilting for a long time and I'm still learning things. So it's cool to learn from things from other people in the group. And it's just really exciting. I love it. I love quilting along with you guys. Okay, so we have our E square. And we have our E half square triangle. We're going to sew these together, matching up the sides. Let's see. Should look like, did I sew it wrong? Should look like this. And then we're going to take this one and we're going to sew it to the bottom. Oh, it's because it's reversed on my face compared to my pattern. And then, so if you notice at the bottom of each one, it tells you this unit will measure baby 6.5 by 6.5, so and so on. The reason I do that is because, so this isn't that big for the baby, but when you're making the larger, like a lot of people in the group are making a queen size or a large throw, these are going to be pretty big and they're going to be like the size of a regular block in a quilt. So if you measure it up at this point and you're like, okay, it's good. Just when you're trimming, try to make sure you're leaving a 1/4 inch at this point and a 1/4 inch at this point and a 1/4 inch at this point. So hopefully you don't really have to trim much, if trimming at all. And then you will be sewing this strip on. Okay, I'll do it like this. This strip on, and then this strip on. So at this point, when you measure it, it's going to be a lot easier to trim it because trimming would most likely happen on this side or this side and you wouldn't lose any points. Instead of if you trimmed on this side and this side, you might accidentally lose your points. But if you need to trim it all, trimming off of these whole strips would be best. Does anybody have any questions about this piece? This one's pretty simple, pretty easy. When sewing, I like to match the solid block up with the side of the square triangle instead of this. That way I know these are going to match up, and then if this one ends up being a little longer, you know, you can just trim that. All right, so this is the first portion of the block or section of the quilt. I didn't finish mine just because there's only one in this quilt. So I'll show you my finished blocks for the that are in my previous quilts. So next, you're going to be having basically a larger rectangle, and you're going to be sewing 2 squares to it. Draw your line diagonal. You can't see my lines because I like using a hair marker. It just leaves an indent in the fabric and it doesn't leave any ink, so you don't have to worry about rinsing out ink. I actually saw somebody on Etsy. Oh, is it American Heritage something? They make them in wood, which looks really cool. I might end up buying a pair of those because this has dropped on my tile floor and it's chipped. So I might purchase the wood ones. They look really cool. But anyways, so you draw your line and then you're going to want to stitch a little bit toward the outside. This makes a pretty thin line, so I just line my needle up right up against that line. If you're drawing with a pen that makes a thicker line, you're going to want your needle to chop into the side of that line. You just want to make sure it's more toward the outside than the inside. That way when you sew it and you go to press it, the corners will match up when you press it. This is kind of similar to the little house blocks we made last week. I like to pinch the corners together and then press it with steam. And then if all the corners match up, I will trim out these back 2 pieces. But if they don't, I might just trim out this. But since this is a dark floral on top of a white, I actually, one that didn't line up, I just left all 3 there because since I have 2 layers of white, you can't see the floral. But if I were to trim out, of course, I don't have my scissors on my table right now. I'll try to fold that. If you just trim the center, you might be able to see that floral through just 1 layer of white. I know it makes it a little more bulky, but it wasn't that bad because it only happened like in one spot that I had to leave all 3 layers. So once you have this and you trim out the layers that are needed, you're going to want to do this again on the opposite 2 corners. Draw your lines, stitch right up to that line. When you go to press it, match the corners up, press. Not a lot of motion, just pressing. In quilting, most of the time you just want to press. Motion can cause warping of the fabric and distortion. So press, press, press. And then we'll have a unit that looks like this, which I like. I like that unit. It's pretty cute. And then next, we are going to attach a flying geese. But also, it tells you the ending size of this, which your ending size is going to be the same size as the beginning size of that rectangle that was on the back. And next, you're going to attach the HB flying geese. Mine are all only 2 colors, so that's why mine are the same. Yours will be different. And when I do that, let's see, this one kind of. So when I do that, if you see, can you see where the cross meets of the triangle? You're going to want your seam to go right above or through that cross mark. And that way you won't cut off your point. And I find just using my 1/4 inch foot gives me that correct 1/4 inch seam, and it actually places it right a tiny bit above that little triangle. And then we have all our pretty points. Then the next step, you're basically taking all your units, your little, like Marilua said, little tulip unit. I didn't even think of that as a tulip. That would make a cute tulip. Huh, or even if you put like some sort of stem here, that would be cute. And then we take these units. And then you're going to have a solid C color for your center. I think I already sewed mine into a strip, but now I can't find it. Let's see. So basically, I'll show you the diagram. We're going to lay them out as shown in the diagram and sew them into rows. I always like sewing my blocks or sections into rows and then sewing those 3 rows together. If it's easier for you to press your seams open so you have less bulk, you can do that. I prefer pressing mine so that my seams will nest. If you notice the little tiny arrows that are on my drawings, that's how I press to get nesting better. And I actually go through the whole pattern and okay, this block is going to be this way and this block's going to be this way. So if you press according to the drawings, all your blocks will nest together next week when we put our tops together. But if you do want to press open, you can still make those seams nest. You just will line up those seams, pin from your seams points, and then pin in between. That's what I usually do. Does anybody have any questions about this block? I think this block turned out pretty nice. I'll show you my previous one since this one is not quite done. So this is my cotton and steel scrappy one. I like how it turned out, the bold navy next to the bold red. I really like that. And then my original one, I really like pink, bright pink, if you guys didn't know. It was funny because when I was a child, and I was like, what, like 6th, 7th grade, I did not like pink, and I did not want to wear pink. And then maybe because my mom wore a lot of pink, I don't know. But I thought, I don't like pink. But then, of course, now I grew up and I love pink. I absolutely love pink. So this is my center block for the original. Um, so once you have all your blocks made, you're gonna want to make sure that next week we'll go into putting them together. So if you want to trim them all now to make sure they're the correct size, you can do that. Just make sure you measure all of them first before you trim, because if you're like, all these turned out to be 14 inches, leave them, which they're supposed to be like 14 and a half, I think, but leave them. But if you're like, all of them turned out to be 14 and 3/4, they're all the same and they match up with the coordinating blocks, as long as this is the same height as this, you're good and you're not going to want to trim. But if they end up different, that's when you're going to want to trim. I'll give you a little bit of tips next week on that. For next week, I know a lot of people are already finishing their quilt tops. It's hard to stop once all your blocks are done, right? It's like, they're all done. It'd take a couple minutes to sew together. You can if you want. Then you'll be a leg up for next week. But next week I'll still jump on here and do a video about putting the quilt top together, basting, quilting, and binding, just in case people are new in the group and are new to quilting and they have no idea what to do. I like to do a little video just to give you guys some tips. So next week you're going to prepare for next week, you're going to need batting, binding fabric, backing fabric, either like a spray based or pins to baste. For this quilt that I would share with you guys, my plan is to do this berry Kona for the backing fabric. And then I have this Windsor Kona for the binding. Then my go-to batting right now is Warm and Plush. It's by the Warm Company. It's just a little bit thicker than a Warm and Natural and a Warm and White, which I like. It gives it a little more loft. So if you've done a Warm and White or Warm and Natural and you're like, this is really thin, you might want to try a Warm and Plush. I actually bought mine on Amazon because I had originally bought it at Joann's, and then now they no longer carry it at my Joann's. And my local quilt shop actually closed like last year, which is sad. So that's what my go-tos are. For this one, that one fell on the ground. For this guy, my cotton and steel one, most of these were out of print. So I already had this one. And so I'm going to use this as the binding. It's a little busy, but I think it'll still look nice because it's just going to be really small. And then I found, I think it's City Quilter. It's an online shop. I found this one, which matches this. I found enough to do backing fabric in that. So that's, I'm really excited about, because I was worried I was just going to have to use a solid. But for baby quilts, sometimes I like to use a print because you're not really buying that much fabric for a backing for a baby. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not sure which one I'm going to quilt before next week. Hopefully I can start quilting one of them. We'll see. We'll see. Does anybody have questions about this week? Or questions about what you need to prepare for next week? I like to do straight line quilting. You can also do free motion quilting. I'm having trouble getting batting. I think online it's too expensive, but when my local shop gets it in, I will be able to finish my quilt. Yeah, sometimes online can be expensive. I usually, I get the queen size. So I've already done a throw out of this, and I'm going to do a, probably be able to get a baby out of it, and then the rest I'm going to probably use for pot holders. I know sometimes the shops local shops will give you a better price than online. Unless you do like a Joann Fabrics with a coupon online, but their shipping seems to take a long time, I've noticed. I did a curbside pickup from them for some yarn last week, which was pretty cool. I've never done that before, curbside pickup for them, and that was pretty quick and easy. But you live in the UK, right, Marilua? I'm thinking correctly. I know around the world it can be more difficult to get some supplies. Right now, fabric it also is in high demand because everybody's at home and all the factories were slowed down there for a while, you know? So hopefully things will get better. I'm hoping. So I guess if nobody has any more questions, I will see you. G says, I order from internet on a roll as you love wool batting. I have been thinking about getting a roll of batting. Where do you usually order your batting from? I was just like worried that I end up purchasing from the wrong place and pay way more than I need to, you know? And then I also think about where am I going to store this roll? My sewing area in our family room is pretty tight right now. We still have a bunch of construction stuff in there because we redid our bathrooms, and next we're going to be redoing our tile in our laundry room. So it's like, where would I store that? I might have to wait till all the construction's done and get a roll because I make so many quilts. I feel like it'd be more economical. You guys are so lucky because fabric costs less over there. Really doesn't. That's what I was wondering. And most of the time when I buy fabric, I like to hit the sell sections first. And then if you bought from USA, it probably the shipping would cost a ton, and then it wouldn't make the sell fabric worth it, right? That's such a bummer. Hopefully you can get some at your batting at your local shop soon. All right. You go to battingsuper.com. I'll have to check them out because I think I would like to get a roll of batting. I have been thinking about getting a roll for a while. Thank you for the information. All right, so I guess I should let you guys go because now I'm just rambling. I'm really excited to see everybody's finished quilts. Yay! This is like my favorite part of the quilt along, when everybody's quilts are starting to show up in the group, and it's like, oh my goodness, because you see all the blocks, but then you don't really visualize the whole quilt until they're all together. It's my absolute favorite part. So I will jump on here next Wednesday at 9 a.m. again. My kids will be back in school, but they have late start on Wednesday, so 9 o'clock works good. So I'll jump on here at 9, give you guys some tips for how I like to finish my quilts. And then it'll be the last week of the quilt along. I have no idea when the next quilt along will start. We'll have to discuss that in the group. I like to give it at least a month or two. That way everybody can finish up this quilt and post their photos before we start another quilt along. I don't like it to be like people stressed out like, oh no, they're already starting a new one and I haven't finished my last one. So I will see you guys next week. It was nice talking to all of you guys, and I'm glad you guys jumped on. And have a great day and a great rest of your week. Hopefully you stay warm, stay safe, and healthy. I will talk to you next week. Bye.